Good morning, friends. This is the Organizer Advisor, here to help you enhance your happiness and transform your life. Okay, we are focusing on getting our kiddos ready for school. So whether you have children, grandchildren, or you have children in your care, we want to make sure that we start off this school year with positive energy, with enthusiasm, and with great self efficacy skills, confidence, and optimism. So, in order to do that, we want to help our children get prepared. Because when we feel prepared, we're more confident, we feel more effective. It's the same for your children. So, we have been talking all along the last couple of weeks about getting the child's room organized, organizing their personal items to help kind of reduce the chaos and stress in their environment. And today we're going to talk about getting the backpacks ready. So this is going to be preparing your child's backpacks, binders, and some tips that I have to help you support your child at school. Okay, so first thing I want to say, I was in public education for a long, long time. I taught preschool, I taught first grade, second grade, third grade, fourth grade, fifth grade. I was an administrator at a middle school. I was administrator at a summer school, high school. I was a dropout prevention specialist. So I have a plethora of experience, and what I can tell you is that if your child is organized, they function better and they suffer from less stress. So, as a teacher, I made it my practice to make sure my children cleaned out their desks on Friday so that they were able to find all those papers that were missing and to organize their things so they started off on a good foot Monday. As a dropout prevention specialist, I realized that some children just don't have good organizational skills and they need some support. So part of my goal was to help children learn how to organize their school belongings. And I had a caseload of students that I worked with, and then I actually had an organizational seminar that I conducted every Thursday, middle school wide, so any child that was struggling with organizing their binder could come into the library and I would help get them organized and teach them how to keep on top of their organization. Because when they can't find an assignment, they get stressed out, their academics start to suffer because they're not turning work in, they get very stressed out about school, they start to have anxious, visceral reactions about going into the classroom and not being able to find a pencil, paper, homework assignments. So having a system that supports them is going to help their academic success as well as the positive atmosphere in school. So I used to have students come in with binders that looked like they had exploded. By the time they left, and literally it only took a few minutes, by the time they left, their binders were organized, they went back to class and they felt more positive, and it was a great solution for teachers who were getting frustrated because they knew that child could succeed. They were just struggling. Mantra for organization in binders: no loose papers. Everything has a dedicated space. Just like in our home, we function best when we know where everything is. And if there is a framework, we function much better because we can find what we need when we need it. Same thing for the binder. So first thing I want to do is go ahead and get a backpack. You want to have a backpack that's comfortable for your child and that has enough room to house all of their school items that they need on a daily basis. For example, if your child has one big binder or lots of little binders, depending on what the class requirements are, then you want to have a backpack that has enough room, because if they're trying to stuff a great big binder into a too small backpack, it's going to get frustrating. It's going to be to the point of they're going to get angry and they're just going to start to shut down. just seen it too many times. So of course, you know me, I like essential oil spray, something calming and relaxing so that when my child opens their backpack, it smells good, it's uplifting, it's relaxing. You can try some lavender if you need something to kind of perk them up, peppermint, but it's going to smell so much better when they pull their items out, especially if they have like gym clothes in their backpack, or possibly have leftover snacks in there. That can create an aroma that's not always pleasant. So the second thing I want to say is you need to have a dedicated space for your child to put their backpack. So you can have hooks by the wall, you can have a basket. I have a basket under that little table right there, and that's for actually my husband's backpack, because otherwise they get laid on the furniture and then stuff gets piled on top of them, like a blanket or a coat or, you know, something else that they brought home, and then all of a sudden we can't find the backpack. But having a dedicated space is going to keep your house looking neater, and it's going to have a place where your child knows to put their backpack and then can find it when they need it. So that's it for the backpack. I clean out backpacks on Fridays when the kids come home from school. It was snack time, dining room table or kitchen table or kitchenette table. We would spread everything out, get everything clean. I would always make sure that they had lunch money and always 2 sharpened pencils. That was our Friday routine. So now lunch money can be on the lunch account, or if your child still takes money to school, which I don't advocate. So if you can do it online, that's the best option. But you just want to check that lunch account, make sure, because when they go to eat lunch on Monday morning and there's no much lunch money in that account, that is a derailment. That starts to get that frustration level going, and it may not subside for the remainder of the day. So make sure you check the lunch account, 2 sharpened pencils, and then we put everything back into the backpack to make sure that that backpack is ready for Monday morning. Okay, set aside in the basket. Now, let's talk about school supplies. Right now, this is the beginning of August, so school supplies are on sale. I buy school supplies that my child needs according to their school list, but I also buy extras because a lot of states offer tax-free incentives for school supplies, but also mid-year, like, you know, right around the holiday season, school supplies aren't necessarily a priority. It's holiday items, so school supplies are a little scarcer, a little more difficult to find. And if you've already purchased them, you've got them on sale, then you have some backup supplies for when your child needs them. Okay, so couple of, just go through the regular school supplies: pencils, highlighters, markers, colored pencils, crayons, whatever you need according to your school list. Now, another thing I like to do is at the end of every month, as my monthly reset for my children, I would send a school supply audit. And this is for a primary grade. You can see it's just kind of simple. I just drew it out. It's no big deal. But they can check off whether they need pencils, paper, erasers, crayons, colored pencils, markers or highlighters, scissors, lunch money, folders or binders. And when you have really little children, you can have the teacher help them fill this out. But I would send it in on like a week before the end of the month, and then they would fill this out and they could put it back into their planner or their binder, and then I would know what they would need for the upcoming week, and that gave me all weekend to purchase it. So I call this the school supply audit. It's also something that you can do with your older children. Just say, hey, let's just check up. What do you need for school? Do you have plenty of paper? And as you go through their backpack, and when your children get older, you won't have to do as much. But this is really for elementary and middle school students, or students that really struggle with organization. I've seen high school students really need some organizational support. So, just modify it to your needs. Okay, so we're going to talk about a binder. We're going to have a school binder, and we're going to have an at-home binder. Let me tell you why we want a school binder and an at-home binder. Every time your child's teacher sends home papers that have been graded and put into the grading program, you want to go ahead and take those out and put them in the at-home binder. The reason is that teachers are human. They make mistakes, and sometimes when they go to input that assignment grade. Sometimes the program just doesn't pick it up, and when they save it, it then comes up next time as a 0. As you check your child's grades, or your child is checking their grades, or you're doing this together in partnership, which is the best model, you can say, hey, wait a minute, I thought I saw that assignment. Your child's going to say, oh yeah, I got that back. Well, if it went into the garbage, there's no way you're going to be able to prove that and help facilitate your child's education. But if you have it in the at-home binder, you can say, oh, wait a minute, let me send this back to school with a little note to the teacher and just say, hey, I found this assignment. It's already been sent back and graded. Could you please update the grading program? This is going to help your child. At the end of the marking period, you take all those papers out, and then you can either save them in a box or you can dispose of them. But this also gives you an opportunity to go back and look at what your child's learning and what they're struggling with. And you can have programs online, you can have websites online, you can have, sorry, I've got a hair, any kind of district provided electronic support, or you can go to some of the bookstores and get books, workbooks and things to supplement in order to help your child practice that skill. Most everything's online now, but I still like getting the little workbooks because, you know, sometimes kids think that's fun when they see all the little graphics. Okay, so we're going to talk about how to set up the school binder, and then we mimic with the at-home binder. All right, so get your hydration beverage. Let's start with the school binder. Okay, so the first thing that I have, you're going to need some dividers and page protectors. And so the first thing I have is homework. So this is just a page protector labeled homework. And this is so when they get their homework assignment, they can just put it right in here, and you can have multiple. Now, if your child has to keep logs, like reading logs or PE logs, they can go here. And then usually I keep any kind of announcements or schedules in this one. Okay, and then we're going to get to the dividers. You can use these pre-made dividers, which are these plastic ones, and you can label them. If you don't have dividers, you can use a page protector with colored paper, and you can just write on the side what the subject is. For my children that I did organizational seminar for, this was the quickest, easiest way to help them get their binders organized, because we could just use colored paper, different color for each subject, and then they could just have a divider that is homemade until they could get some. Then I always like to put behind each subject, and I like to color coordinate subjects, but I put another page protector for information for that class. So it could be project requirements, or if they had some kind of reading project they needed to do, because this is English, then I would have that there so I could really make sure that we're keeping up with all of that. And then of course paper behind each tab. Now you can have any assignments in these. Oops. Here are some assignments. And so you can see I just keep page protectors, and then you have the dividers, which is going to have one divider for each class. I like them color coordinated, so then they can keep their assignments. A lot of times teachers require notebook checks, so you can have the notebook scaffolded and set up so that it stays organized. So you want to make sure that you're touching base with the teacher, what needs to remain in the binder and what can be stored in the at-home binder. And that's another reason we'd like to keep that at-home binder. If your child has a notebook check as a class requirement, then they are able to, if they're missing something, they can come home and check in the at-home binder and see if it was put in there. It's kind of just a safeguard. All right, so that's the same for each class, just another divider. Class assignments, there's study guides, you can have, and then at the very back, I like to put some paper. But another thing I want to mention, and I just thought about it, was like vocabulary cards and study guides, and all of those need to have a dedicated space in the binder. And so what I wanted to mention was you can actually use zip top bags for like vocabulary cards or any kind of study guides, you can put these are little vocabulary cards that go with the study guide. You can put them in this zip top bag. There you go. And you can zip it up. That keeps all the study implements in there. Okay, I don't like that because it's just going to get all wrinkled. So I'm going to redo this, and I'm just going to fold this in half so that now I can see what's in here. And then you can zip top it, and then you can hole punch it and actually put it into the binder. That way you can have a place for vocabulary cards that aren't going to fall out. If you put them in page protectors, they're going to fall out. So this is a great way to keep any kind of little cards or pieces. Sometimes teachers give puzzles, but that's a great idea. You also may want a pencil pouch in the front of a binder if you have multiple binders in the front of each binder, and this is where you may want to put your pencils and highlighters so that your child is prepared for each class. Okay, so let's talk about the at-home binder now. In the at-home binder, I'm going to have any kind of digital access. I'm going to have passwords, digital access to the grading programs or electronic support materials or Class Dojo, whatever, class website or apps that your class uses. You want to keep all of that in the front. Another thing that I like to do is keep the syllabus from each class. This is the school handbook. You're going to need that because it has all your school's policies in it. So I keep that in the front. You want to have any kind of information from the school district or division in your at-home binder. That way you can find it when you need it. Another thing is if your child has special needs or a special education plan or a 504, an IEP, any kind of special academic supports, you want to have the copy of that as well. I also like to keep any kind of report card, grading reports, evaluations, notes from teachers, anything pertaining to your child's education from the school. I also keep all the little awards and certificates in here so that we can reflect on that. Any kind of progress monitoring, electronic progress monitoring that your school is doing, testing reports, state standard testing reports, any of that. Any kind of electronic or online vocabulary, math program, anything that could be of support to your child. A lot of times schools will send that home. You can keep that in there too, so you know the website, you know how to log on, you might have a password you can write down. There's an access code. Keep all of that in your at-home binder. And then I create the dividers just like in the child's binder. It just mimics that. And then what you're going to do is when the child brings home papers at the end of the week or whenever they're sent home, and you do that weekly end of cleaning out binder, or cleaning out the backpack on Fridays, I pull out the at-home binder. And so as the child says, oh, this is graded, this is great, I'll say, give it to me and I'll put it in the binder. And then that way, if that paper doesn't somehow get logged into the grading program, you have it here. But it also gives you an opportunity to look at your child's grades on the graded papers, so you kind of get an estimate of what their grades are, so you know whether you need to add some more support, a little more study time, a little more oversight on homework or assignments, and then that way you can, grading isn't a surprise. It gives you an idea of where your child's grades are going to be, and you can see a lot of that online, but you also have the documentation here. Okay, so that's the at-home binder. And then I'm going to mention a couple other things, and then we're going to close. Another thing I used to use as, and this was like for young children, middle school children, this is an evaluation sheet, how I did this week. So it's just a little smiley face, And it's basically, how did I do coming to class? Was I prepared for class? Did I have all of my materials in order? Smiley face, neutral face, sad face. So this is building that self-efficacy of where they might need to improve some of their skills. And this has, like, how did I do at PE, math instruction, centers, science. How did I do at lunch? Was I prepared at lunch? Did I have my lunch box if they take a home lunch? Did I check to make sure I had money in my account? English language arts. How did I do on social studies? How did I do in independent reading or computer time? And did I have everything I needed in order for dismissal? So this way you can help your child say, here's an area that I really need to focus on, because that's going to help them become aware of where they need to enhance their skills. Again, on Friday, I'd send the school supply audit home. This would come back. This would give me an idea of what I needed to get over the weekend or pull out of my residual reserve school materials, so that there wasn't that panic of Monday morning, oh my gosh, I forgot to get, or oh my gosh, my child didn't tell me. So that kind of keeps some of that frustration and arguments down, and that escalation of frustration. Okay, couple more things that I like to mention. Now, as a teacher, I like to send home homework at the beginning of the week in elementary school, so that the families could balance how they were going to get that homework done based upon their schedule. Because some their older children had sports activities, some had church activities, some had community activities. So I didn't know each child's family schedule. So if I sent home the homework at the beginning of the week, they then could kind of figure out what was going to be best for their schedule to get those assignments done, and it was just due on Friday. So that really helped. And if you have that opportunity, or if you have access to your child's assignments in advance, I like to create daily folders. This could also be folders that you can do for a little support, extra support, if you see your child needs it. So I'm just going to show you. Here's one of my organizational seminar newsletters, things that children could do, how to organize your binder, Friday afternoon backpack clean out, all the things that we just talked about, I gave to each child in a new little newsletter. So let's see. So on getting homework done, I would like to have little folders, one for each day of the week, and I would just kind of equalize the assignments. Or if I knew we were busy on Tuesday with soccer or some sort of field sport, then I knew Tuesday probably wasn't going to be a big homework night, so we would try and do it Monday or Wednesday instead. That's just a suggestion on some ways that you can kind of spread it out if you have access. I also made little corresponding index cards. This is for vocabulary study. If the child needed vocabulary, of course you can do a lot of this online now, but if they have vocabulary cards, I would put the vocabulary cards and we'd study a few every night. So that was a way that I could kind of divide some of the workload so that it wasn't so overwhelming. Okay, so I think, let's just recap. We talked about the child's binder, we've talked about page protectors, we've talked about dividers, we've talked about what to keep in that binder and how to help your child go through that. Make sure the backpack has enough room in it for the binders or the requirements of each class, and make sure that it smells good. Make sure your child is prepared with the school materials they need, lunch account money. Also have a at-home binder that mimics the school binder, where you keep all the school information in that at-home binder so you can find it when you need it. You can have a system for managing homework so that your child doesn't feel like, there's no way I'm going to get this done, and they stay up until 11 o'clock. If you can just kind of meter it out over the week, that's going to help, so that your child knows that just do a little bit every day, just like we do. Okay, last thing I want to say is it's always nice to reward your child for, trying their best. Not all children are going to have stellar academic years. Sometimes, they struggle. But you want to give your child encouragement. And you can have these little notes. You can buy all these cute little notes that you can just slip into your child's notebook, slip into their binder, just to let them know, hey, you can do this. We're here to help. We care about you. We want you to be successful. And we know you're trying. And that sometimes makes all the difference. So little young children still like to get notes in their lunchbox. They really do. And these were notes that I give my husband in his lunchbox. And I used to mail them when we were living in 2 different states for a long time. I used to mail little notes to him, and he thought that was the neatest idea. So if a grown man enjoys that, little kids are going to like it too. Okay, so that is kind of how I set up my children for school. Lockers, that's a whole different topic. But basically, at the end of the month, I would ask my children to clean out their lockers, bring home any gym clothes, bring home any jackets, bring home anything that needed to be washed. And if you have access to the school, which at that time we were able to go in and help our children clean out their locker. But if you're able to do that, it's great to go in and just a little bit at a time, trying to keep that locker organized, because I literally have seen lockers stuffed so full that the locks jammed and we couldn't get not only their locker open, but the 2 lockers on either side would not open because it was so overstuffed it literally bent the metal. So that's another, it's kind of a black hole. So come up with a system. You need to work with your school on that one, on how to clean that locker. Okay, friends, that was a long video, had a lot of information. Please, please, please like, comment, subscribe to and follow on either platform, Facebook, The Organizer Advisor, or on YouTube, The Organizer Advisor, because anything that you do helps to get these messages out. This is free content to help other people get some support to help their children get organized. I love you all, and I'll see you in the next video.